CP football was developed to allow individuals with cerebral palsy to participate in the world's most popular sport. The participants were athletes with neurological disorder, including stroke and traumatic brain injury. Formerly known as Football 7-a-side, CP football has been part of the Paralympic Games program since 1984. Since the athletes are football players, the sport is played with modified football rules. Among the modifications are a reduced field of play, smaller pitch and goal posts, no offside rule. Players are allowed to throw the ball in using only one hand. Shorter games. The match lasts for 2 equal periods of 30 minutes with a 15 minutes halftime break. And a reduction in the number of players from 11 to 7. A match is played by 2 teams, each consisting of not more than 7 players and one of whom is the goalkeeper. Total 14 players can be listed on the team list. A match may not start if either team consists of fewer than 4 players. Athletes competing in CP football have an impairment that leads to a competitive disadvantage in sport. Consequently, a system has to be put in place to minimize the impact of the impairments on sport performance. Because the success of an athlete is determined by skill, fitness, power, endurance, tactical ability, and mental focus, the system is called classification. CP football also has a classification system to ensure that all teams are fairly balanced. A sport class determines groups of athletes depending on how much their impairment impacts their performance in the sport. CP football includes 3 classes called FT1, FT2, and FT3. FT1 is for most severe impairment, FT2 is for moderate impairment, FT3 is for minimal impairment. To accomplish this, the players are firstly allocated one of 3 sport classes. In order to ensure a fair game between 2 teams, each team of 7 players has to have one FT player on the field at all times, and it is not allowed to have more than 1 FT3 players on the field. And then there's another class which are FT5, FT6, FT7, and FT8. The type of disability for each class is FT5, athletes with difficulties when walking and running, but not in standing or when kicking the ball. FT6, athletes with control and coordination problems of their upper limbs, especially when running. FT7, athletes with hemiplegia. FT8, minimally disabled athletes. They must meet eligibility criteria and have an obvious impairment that has impact on the sport of football. Classification provides a structure for competition. Athletes competing in CP football have ataxia, hypertonia, or athetosis. These are the 3 impairment types that are most commonly associated with individuals having neurological impairment with a motor control impairment of a cerebral nature, causing a permanent and verifiable activity limitation. Originally, classification for the sport was only open to people with cerebral palsy, but the classification system has later changed. These open up the sport to people with brain injuries and other motor function disorder with functional participation similar to the people with cerebral palsy. In the 11th Asean Para Games 2022, CP football competition will be held from 31st of July to August 5th at UNS Stadium Solo. There are 4 countries that will compete for 1 gold medal: Indonesia, Cambodia, Myanmar, and Thailand. Para table tennis is adaptation of table tennis for athletes with a range of disabilities. Athletes from all physical impairment groups aside from the vision impaired can compete in the standing or sitting classes. Intellectually impaired athletes can also compete. The rules of the International Table Tennis Federation also apply to the Paralympic table tennis competition, with slight modification regarding the service rule for athletes competing in a wheelchair. A game is won by the player or pair first scoring 11 points unless both players or pair score 10 points. In this case, the game is won by the first player or pair gaining a lead of 2 points. Para table tennis offers single and team events for both men and women with standing, wheelchair, and intellectual impairment classification. The sport is open to athletes with upper and lower limb paralysis, cerebral palsy, amputees, and other physical disabilities like multiple sclerosis and muscular dystrophy. They are compete in classes according to their functional ability. Classification is conducted when the athlete's range of movement, muscle strength, locomotor restriction, balance in the wheelchair, and ability to handle the racket has been assessed. The rules of classification are to determine eligibility to compete for athletes with disability and to group of athletes equitably for competition purposes. Athletes are grouped by reference to functional ability resulting for their impairment. There are 11 classes in the sport, classes 1 to 5 for those in wheelchair, and classes 6 to 10 for those who have disability that allow them to play standing. Within those groups, the higher classification means the more function the athlete has. And there is class 11. It is for players with intellectual disability. There are no exceptions to the laws of table tennis for standing player with disability. All players play according to the laws and regulation of the ITTF. The umpire may relax the requirements for correct service if the compliance is prevented by physical disability. Wheelchairs used in the sport have 2 large wheels and a small wheel. The wheelchair may have 1 or maximum 2 cushions whose height is limited to 15 centimeters. In the team and class events, the player's body above the knees must not be attached to the chair as this could improve balance. There are special rules regarding the ball toss part of the serve in some classes. Under Olympic rules, the ball must be placed in the open palm of the hand, thrown at least 60 centimeters into the air and struck. In para table tennis, where this is not possible, the ball may be tossed by placing it on the elbow or on the racket. The dimension of the table and net used in para table tennis are exactly the same as those at the Olympic Games, with one modification for players using wheelchair. The table legs are fixed at least 40 centimeters inside the end line to prevent players from hitting the table as they approach it. Like in tennis doubles, double partner in wheelchair do not have to take turns hitting the ball in para table tennis. In matches for wheelchair athletes, the service ball must leave the table at the end rather from the side, so that it is within immediate reach of the player receiving it. Secondly, athletes with an arm amputation or hand impairment do not need to throw the ball up when serving. A point is most often scored when the opponent hits the ball but misses the playing surface. A player does not return the ball after it is hit over the net to their side of the table, touches the table with their free hand, or place the ball into the net. In the 11th Asean Para Games 2022, para table tennis competition will be held from 31st of July to August 5th at Solo Techno Park. There are 56 medals for the winning athletes. Komang Suparte is part of Indonesian wheelchair basketball team in Asean Para Games 2022. The team won bronze medal on men's 3-on-3 wheelchair basketball.
Kalau perasaan saya tentu senang sekali sih, karena ini debut pertama dan medali pertama juga untuk Indonesia di Asean Para Games di wheelchair basketball. Jadi bersyukur sekali dan senang sekali.
Even though Komang came to Solo with minimum preparation, he still can contribute a good number of points for the team win. He scored 4 points for Indonesia to beat Cambodia with the total score of 9-5.
Kalau persiapannya mungkin kita 7 bulan ini latihan di sini, mungkin yang belum kita lakuin mungkin tryout kayak pertandingan uji coba seperti itu. Karena saya ngalamin sendiri ketika bermain sama teman sendiri, dan ketika langsung melawan tim negara lain itu memang perasaan berbeda. Jadi mungkin perlu pertandingan seperti pertandingan uji coba, sparring atau apa segala macam. Mungkin mental ketika ada momen-momen yang memang membuat kita ngedown sedikit kayak gitu. Kita masih perlu belajar lagi dari pertandingan-pertandingan yang agar bisa mengatasi hal-hal seperti itu. Mungkin itu sih. Jadi ketika kehilangan momen, kita bisa balikin momennya lagi. Gitu. Kalau Thailand sendiri nggak bisa dipungkiri memang tim yang cukup keras. Jadi ya kita tetap fight juga. Tapi gimana pun hasilnya ya kita terima.
The team captain is also known for his great individual skill. Statistically, his shooting percentage reached 70% out of 100%.
Kalau saya sendiri mulai ikut tahun 2018, tapi yang ikut pelatnas 2019 sempat dan 2022 ini. Jadi itu sih 2 tahun sih. Seru sih karena olahraga permainan dan permainan basket itu memang gimana ya, menurut saya seru banget sih, ada tim juga, keren juga menurut saya. Menurut saya sendiri ya, kenapa saya pilih basket. Ada deg-degan tapi seneng juga karena nggak nyangka dukungan dari penonton semua, teman-teman semua sangat luar biasa.
Komang Suparto admitted that basketball has been a part of his life since a long time, and it helped him to find his true identity and gain more confidence. Disability is not a reason to stop chasing your dream, because there will always be a way for those who fights.
Kalau ditanya beban mungkin ada sedikit, tapi harus membiasakan keluar dari beban itu, jadikan motivasi. Kalau prestasi untuk event ini sendiri, mudah-mudahan kita kan masih ada di Pep on Pep. Besok kita masih main, mudah-mudahan bisa mencapai target perak yang apa yang kita harapkan. Kalau pesan mungkin tetap semangat buat teman-teman yang latihan dimanapun, latihan basket. Setiap orang punya kesempatan yang sama, jadi siapapun itu, intinya tetap berlatih, semangat.
Komang Suparto's love for basketball is undeniable. He has never given up his dreaming of become the best player despite having disability. Komang is a living proof that everyone can achieve their highest dream. Solo is known for its deep root for Japanese culture and tradition, and one of the art forms that they're proud of is batik. In Kauman Batik Village, tourists can learn more about UNESCO masterpieces of the oral and intangible heritage of humanity.
Ya, kalau batik khasnya Solo sendiri, kita kan memang berpacu pada motif-motif keraton. Jadi seperti yang bisa dilihat di sini, itu motif-motif namanya kita sogan. Jadi sogan itu lebih ke pewarnaan. Kalau misalkan yang Solo itu dia cenderungnya ke arah coklat, hitam. Dan memang ada motifnya, nama motif, ada filosofi. Jadi kalau untuk di prosesi-prosesi misalkan pernikahan atau melahirkan, mitoni dan sebagainya itu memang dia udah ada untuk prosesi ini nanti pakainya yang ini karena nanti ada filosofinya seperti itu. Untuk proses pembuatan batik sendiri kita terdiri ada beberapa macam. Kita bisa mulai dari cap. Cap itu jadi dia pakai tembaga dari alat tembaga gitu, bentuk kotak gitu. Tergantung sih, ada bentuk kotak, ada kadang segitiga. Terus nanti ada juga kombinasi cap sama tulis. Jadi setelah dicap, habis itu nanti masih ditumpuki tulis lagi setelah mengalami beberapa proses. Lantas untuk yang paling bagus itu yang batik tulis. Jadi dia full batik tulis dari mulai awal itu pakai pola, pakai pensil. Lantas setelah itu kita waxing. Jadi menorehkan malam ke bagian yang digaris tadi pertama. Setelah itu nanti kita pewarnaan ya. Untuk prosesnya itu bisa kita ulang lagi dari awal juga. Soalnya nanti tergantung berapa banyak warna yang mau kita torehkan di situ gitu. Setelah finishing semua, pewarnaan selesai, pewarnaan alam selesai, nanti kita rebus di air panas untuk ngelorot namanya. Jadi ngelarutin malam atau waxing itu tadi ke air panas, jadi nanti udah lepas semua. Setelah itu nanti pengeringan terakhir. Kalau untuk batik tulis sendiri prosesnya sekitar 1 sampai 3 bulan untuk finishing satu kain. Itu tergantung tingkat detail motifnya ya. Jadi memang kita nggak bisa menyamaratakan gitu. Kalau semakin detail biasanya nanti semakin lama prosesnya. Kemarin kebetulan ya alhamdulillah kita dapat kunjungan ya dari Myanmar. Beliau sukanya memang baju jadi. Terus lantas kebetulan lebih sukanya di warna-warna sogan khas Solo sama yang warna-warna alam. Kebetulan memang yang jadi ciri khas kita kan yang warna alam sama warna sogan Solo gitu. Kebetulan kita beberapa staf kan juga bisa aktif bahasa Inggris ya juga, jadi kalau misalkan melayani mereka juga nggak kesulitan. Jadi memang kalau kita tamu di tempat kita memang kita menonjolkan yang khasnya kita dulu, otomatis dengan kualitasnya yang batik tulis dulu biasanya gitu. Jadi beliau tamu itu bisa yang harga segini memang batik tulis, kalau aku maunya yang agak di bawahnya itu berarti kita nanti ngarahnya ke cap tulis atau cap gitu. Terus untuk setiap tamu yang datang memang kita arahkannya ke batik processing di belakang. Jadi workshopnya kita memang tunjukkan, soalnya kita juga bisa melayani belajar batik juga kalau untuk individual tamu seperti itu. Untuk tamu mancanegara kita kan kebetulan dari berbagai macam negara ini. Biasanya paling yang dicari itu memang hal yang simpel seperti kayak shawl. Kita kan ada shawl, stola, scarf kayak gitu. Terus dari berbagai macam bahan juga. Jadi ada sutra, ada katun gitu. Terus lantas bahan biasanya. Soalnya mereka memang untuk kayak gift gitu memang harus yang simpel, nggak makan tempat gitu kan. Ya paling seperti itu yang dicari. Selain baju jadi nggih.